Welcome to the Addiction Solution Podcast. I'm Michelle Dunbar. Enjoy listening and watching as addiction experts Mark Sheeran and I cover controversial as well as helpful topics on addiction, how to move past it, and other related subjects. As two of the co-founders of the Freedom Model, Mark and I will give you a completely new perspective on the topics that matter to you. We will take to task the Recovery Society's lies and misinformation and replace them with facts, research, and the methods to move on from addiction struggles without 12-step meetings, rehabs, and the shackles of endless recovery. Let's escape the treatment and recovery trap together and learn to be free. Welcome to the truth. Hey everyone, Michelle here. I'm so excited to let you know about Freedom Model International membership. Get support as you deprogram from the 12 steps and the shackles of addiction recovery. For a low monthly membership fee, you get the Freedom Model online program, which includes our books, our audiobooks, workbooks, and all the additional lessons. You also get the Freedom Model for the Family online program as well. You will get a live members-only 2-hour question and answer webinar with Mark and myself the last Wednesday of every month. And each week, we're going to add a new video lesson. We call this the What We Learned This Week series. Lastly, we also have the Freedom Model International monthly newsletter, where we're going to tackle the current events and the latest research for you. All this for just $39.95 per month. You can stay a member for as long as you need, and you can suspend or cancel your subscription whenever you're ready. Go to online.thefreedommodel.org to sign up today. All right, here we are.
Hi, Mark Sheeran here, Michelle Dunbar there.
This is the Addiction Solution Podcast, in case you're wondering.
Yeah. So we're the creators of the Freedom Model along with Stephen Slate. And so we do things a little differently here, as many of you know. But if this is your first podcast, you'll see that we do things differently. We don't talk about addiction being a disease because it's not one. And we talk about moving on, and we're really going to hit that topic heavy today, because I've been getting a lot of people in class with me. So we have this retreat, and we're sitting in the retreat right now that we've been running for 32 years, where people come and they learn the Freedom Model. And I've had a lot of students lately who are middle-aged and maybe a little older in some cases, and their confidence is shot. Which is kind of goes with drinking heavily and drugging heavily.
Even though they may have been successful in their careers or their relationships or whatever, like they feel as if, their confidence goes. I guess that's what it is. They feel as if somehow they're not useful anymore, or they're bored. I mean, once you start achieving things, look at the longer you live, the less exciting life is. I mean, that's just the reality of things.
Yeah. I mean, you have to cook in the excitement. You have to make it happen. And that takes some effort, which is where we're going to go with this. So I think that, so you get into these ruts. So these people get into these ruts, and some people call it a midlife crisis. I'm not sure I think that's a little hyperbole. I don't like crisis, but I can tell you that I went through it in my early 40s, where there's a big change in your life and the way you see things, the way you see the world. You have a lot of wisdom, and you've, in my case, and the case of these people, they've achieved so much that now they're kind of coasting, and then they have to make some changes in their life. And I understand this. I understand this process, but in order to do so, you got to have courage and willingness. And courage, I want to define it, is not, sort of just moving forward in some, comfortable way, or valiant way. It's moving forward in your life in some situation or group of situations, circumstances, even when you're scared. So it's moving forward, acting even when you're scared or filled with doubt. And if you drink and drug long enough, and you watch your life cycle sort of petering off, and you feel yourself caught in this rut and you can't seem to get out of it, and then if you get caught in the recovery trap. And here's where things really accelerate in a bad direction. You go to a rehab, you go to a clinic, you go to an outpatient clinic, a therapist that's an addictionologist. And all of a sudden, what was once a condition that, or a situation that you felt that you could control and get over and move on from, is now a condition, is seen as an unchangeable situation, right?
Right.
And your confidence gets really shaken because now it's a bigger situation than you thought. And now that's false, of course. There is no disease of addiction. There's nothing broken here. You are not mentally ill. You don't have a disorder, but those labels really beat people up. So I want to talk a little bit about having the courage to move forward. And so one of the things I tell people is, how do you move forward with courage? The first thing you have to do is you have to have the right information. It's hard to move forward if you don't know that you're okay. Wouldn't you say that's true?
Yeah, for sure.
So jump in at any point
Okay.
if you want to. So one of the things I was talking about yesterday with somebody is we were going through class, and he said, well, now that I have the information, I still don't feel confident. And I said, well, you're not going to feel confident until you do things.
Right. That's like that whole argument about, can you instill self-esteem in someone? No, you can't. That's an internal job. It requires you to actually go out and do things that build self-esteem, achieve things, and that's the same with confidence.
Yeah, that's a good point. So it's really important to be able to take a risk. And I think that when you're labeled an alcoholic or a drug addict, there's no risk in it anymore. Now, the risk is obviously the use. You're going to have bad things happen eventually. There's trade-offs and costs associated with that, but you're willing to pay that. But the risk is very small because it's known.
Right.
So you get into this mode where your habit becomes basically your MO. It becomes the devil, and you just keep going forward with that. And then somebody like me walks up and says, do you want confidence? You got to go out and try. You got to go out and try other things. Now, what's important here, though, first is you have to get the right information. That there is an order of progression here. If you don't have the right information on how to get over a drug or alcohol problem, you're not going to do that. If you don't devalue the drug, you're not going to get over the problem. You're still going to value it. You're still going to prefer it. You're going to think there's perceived benefits to it. And you're going to keep going back in that negative feedback loop. So that's a disaster. And you've already lived that way, if you're out in the audience, having had that experience. So the first part is doing the freedom model, understanding it. When I say doing it, I mean reading the book, going through the Freedom Model International membership, maybe doing our video classes in the membership. There's all kinds of tools, the podcast, obviously. So you got to take care of your preference for heavy intoxication, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's a matter of moving forward. Once you've taken care of your preference, once you've devalued the drug to where you realize it can't serve you, that alcohol or drugs cannot serve you in the way you thought they did, then it's a matter of really whether you're willing to move forward in your life.
Well, and so let's, where my mind is gone. Okay. I turned 54 this week. So, when you get into your 40s, and this happened to me too. We had somebody ask the question. I'm going to finish the sentence here in a minute. We had somebody ask the question, what about the people that don't start heavy drinking until their 40s and 50s, right? Like there's a lot of those people. They maybe drank normally or non-problematically for a long time. And then all of a sudden they hit midlife and now they're hitting it hard. So, or they decide they get on, a lot of people end up getting prescribed all kinds of medications as they get older, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're on benzos, and maybe all of a sudden you have ADD and somebody puts you on Adderall. So, so now the medications are piling up, you're drinking harder, you're trying to get back some kind of feeling, right? Well, what happens is it's kind of like when you get into your mid 40s, you're at the top of the hill. So now you can see towards the end of your life.
Yeah.
Because nobody lives forever, and most people, the average age is 80 years old. So now you're at 50 and more than half your life is done, right? So I think that becomes incredibly stressful for people and incredibly um you're trying to get back youth. You're trying to get back something.
No, that's a good point. So you're looking backwards.
You're looking backwards, and at the same time, you're trying to quell that anxiety. And I think it's pretty normal, most of us are dealing with elderly parents, that or we're losing our parents, and so we become the oldest generation.
Yep.
We have kids leaving home. I mean, there's so much going on. Maybe we've achieved in our business, or maybe our business is struggling. And so there's all of these things. You want to feel like, as much as I wouldn't go back to my 20s, in retrospect, looking back at my 20s, they were relatively not stressful. I thought they were hugely stressful. Not so much. Now we have so much more that we have to deal with. And so if we believe that substances provide some kind of comfort and escape, then that's what we go to. And maybe we feel that comfort for just a minute, like, oh, this is the devil, I know, right? It makes me comfortable. We probably feel it long before we feel a buzz. Maybe with just our first drink, soon as we put that pill in our mouth, we're like, oh, it obviously hasn't acted on you already, but don't you feel it then? You do, right? Everybody says that. And that's because it's just an activity that you enjoy. So with that said, it could be any activity. You could make it any activity. And there are activities that work way better than ingesting a substance.
Yeah. So we're not talking about replacement here. What we're talking about is moving on.
Yes.
So I'm going to give a quick analogy so you understand that nuance, and then we can move forward. So when you were a kid, and I've used this analogy in class and in podcasts in the past, but it needs to be repeated. So when you're a kid, your bicycle is your mode of transportation. It's your mode of freedom. It's your mode of fun for a lot of people. So try to relate this. So remember when you were 8, 9 years old and you had that sense of freedom that you could leave your house and just go riding all over the place, right? And then that becomes basically your mode of transportation until you get your license. And then you get your driver's license and you get in a car, and suddenly the bicycle becomes literally not even a thought on your mind because you have something that's much better.
Right.
And so when you get out on the road in the car or the truck or whatever it is you're driving, you're not thinking to yourself, boy, I better get in this car so that I don't get on my bicycle. Right?
Nobody forget about it.
Yeah. So that I'll forget about it. Now, if that were your thought, which would be an odd thing, what that tells me as an instructor with the freedom model is that you still prefer the bicycle. And if you're trying to distract yourself from the bicycle in some sort of odd way, that you have to get in a car so that you don't get on your bicycle, then you're replacing the bicycle. Now, eventually you're going to get back on that bicycle because you still prefer it. But nobody does that. And I'll tell you why they don't do that, because the car is better.
Yeah, for sure.
And when the car is better, it doesn't take any courage really to move forward with it. You just get in the car and you move forward with it. Now, with drinking and drugging, because we have built it into this magical, amazing experience of it makes me escape the world and it does all these things, first we got to challenge that. And then we need a little courage to take a chance and move forward. We may not know what a car is at that point. So you have to have some courage to say, okay, I'm going to just go live my life and just on faith move forward. And that doesn't mean you're replacing your addiction, okay? We've already devalued the drug. We've already shown you through various chapters. You've already read the book. We're making that assumption here that you've devalued the drug and the magic is gone. So now, how much courage do you really need to move forward? Not much. You can just say to yourself, you know what? It's got to be better. It's got to be better than being shit-faced in a hotel somewhere, or hiding drinking from your wife or spouse or whatever it might be, or drugging or going to the crack house. That really, if you're chasing drugs all day, Isn't that fun? You know? So the devil, doesn't take any courage at all. It takes a slight bit of courage to move forward in your life and just try other things. But you have to devalue that drug first. The perceived benefits are the linchpin. If you still perceive them, if you still perceive that alcohol and or drugs are your ticket to happiness, you have to challenge that first, devalue it, destroy that idea, then with a little bit of courage, move forward with your life.
Yep. It's like being with in a bad relationship, right?
It's a great analogy.
It's courage and a little bit of faith. Like a little bit of faith that I just might be happier if I do something different. You know, I might be happier alone than I am at this point in this relationship.
Well, yeah, that brings up the whole idea of benefits to benefits analysis, right? If you have a bad relationship, the benefits of leaving compared to the benefits of staying. And that sometimes is a really tough one.
Yeah, for sure.
But we've all pretty much had a relationship at some point in our life where we left, where we said, you know what? It's better on the other side.
Yeah.
You know, and it does take some courage to leave the known. But my God, it's so much better to take that risk. It really is.
I think some people get confused when I say, when we talk about, well, you have to believe you're going to be happier. You don't really have to believe you're going to be happier, stopping the substance use. You have to just open your mind to that possibility.
And then act.
Yes. And then seek it out. Like seek out. You will the first time as you stop it. Now, somebody asked me at one point, well, how do I just stop? You just stop. How do you quit a job? I mean, we say that in one of the chapters in the book. How do you quit a job?
Yeah. And let me just digress for a second. Nobody says to themselves, I hope my boss treats me like shit more so that I'll leave the job. So if you're sitting there saying to yourself, I need to think about all the consequences and pain of drinking and drugging and it'll force me to stop, it's not gonna.
No.
Nobody does that. You just, you go from a job to a new job because the new job is better.
Yes.
Better pay.
Yes.
Better relationships, better relationship with your boss, whatever it might be.
So all you have to have is an open mind. So the first, like, if you're a weekend, if you can manage to keep it together all week, and then on the weekends you start on Friday and you get really drunk, and on Sunday you feel like crap, and then you have to go to work on Monday and you feel like crap, and so you spend the rest of the week beating yourself up, and then you get to Friday again and it starts again. If that's kind of your pattern that you've gotten yourself in, that first Friday you make a decision, I'm not going to drink this weekend. I'm going to run the experiment, that happy experiment, to see if I can have a good weekend without it, if I can be happy without it. It'll be uncomfortable initially. It'll be very uncomfortable if you ruminate on the benefits you're missing out on. If you find yourself doing that, then challenge those benefits and be like, don't go to consequences, don't go to costs, but challenge the benefits and be like, did it really do that for me last weekend? The things that I wanted to do?
And especially escapism.
Yeah.
I think that's the big one. Did it really make me escape my problems?
Yeah. How much did I actually enjoy it? Did I just enjoy the first drink? Well, if I enjoyed the first drink, maybe I'll take one drink and see how that goes. Or, you know what? I didn't even enjoy the first drink that much. By the time I finished it, I was beating myself up from go. Then how about I just take this weekend, be abstinent, live my life, not ruminate on it, as those habitual thoughts come in that a drink or a drug would be good right now, dismiss them and say, I'm not doing that this weekend, and get on with your weekend and see how things go.
So there's a real important part about what Michelle just said that I want to hone in on, because it's the part that everybody skips. And that is that the drug, doesn't matter what it is, cannot temporarily even make you escape your problems. If you believe that temporarily, even for 3 drinks, that it's making you escape your issues, you're lying to yourself.
Absolutely.
And it's not true.
It's a fantasy land.
It's a fantasy. And it's okay to be distracted with your own fantasies. But here's the deal. Your mind is making that distraction happen by focusing on the fact that your body is getting a little buzzed. So you're doing that. So you don't need alcohol to do that. Fantasies are a normal part of life. Stop giving alcohol and or drugs the credit. It's you that's escaping your own problem. And now the reason that the first 3 hits or drinks makes you believe that the drug is the operative thing that's making all that escape happen or get accomplished is because you're going from sober to drunk. And in that transference of physical pleasure, you're distracted for a minute. You could do that by running up a hill.
Yeah.
You could do that by making a conversation with a friend that you haven't talked to in 30 years. You could do that in any fantasy. You could literally sit in a room and fantasize about an ex-spouse or girlfriend or boyfriend. I mean, your mind is capable, obviously,
right,
of creating a fantasy and moving forward on that basis. So you don't need alcohol. The alcohol isn't doing it. The drug isn't doing it. Now, if you don't believe that, you have to read 17 through 20 or to go through the lessons in the membership. 17 through 20 specifically. There's a bunch of video lessons on that.
And look, there's also in those chapters, we have references, books that we got the information from. You can go to those books directly.
That's right.
And really see what the research says about substances. So we don't we're not saying that there are worthy activities and unworthy activities.
No.
If placebo effect is alive and well, and if you genuinely believe and you're not willing to challenge those beliefs that substances are providing you that momentary escape or that momentarily bit of relief, if you're not willing to challenge the fact that you're doing that, we're not saying it doesn't happen. What we're saying is you're doing it.
Your mind, your thoughts.
Yeah. So, and what we're saying is you could do it with just about anything.
Yeah.
With any activity you enjoy, with getting on, Mark just got a motorcycle, with getting on a motorcycle and going for a ride, or, calling a friend or going to see live music or going out to get a bite to eat with a friend. I mean, there are infinite number of activities where you can distract yourself and feel relief. And quite frankly, they tend to work a whole lot better. When I talked to somebody recently who is struggling and she gets, her go-to activity is getting drunk and sitting at home and feeling sorry for herself. Right.
Right.
So, and then she laments about how lonely she is. And I'm like, well, there's only one cure for loneliness. One, really. And that's talk to somebody else. But why, but maybe lamenting about your loneliness is your fantasy.
That's a great point. We always move in the direction of what we want to do. So if you're sitting in self-pity and indulging in it, it's because you see benefit in it. I once had a student sitting right in this office with me, and he went through 3 weeks of education. And there was this sticking point, and I wasn't able initially to identify it. And I could tell that there was something blocking him from what we were trying to learn. And I said, wait a minute. Now, let's say his name was Bill. I said, Bill, what are the benefits of your self-pity? Because he kept going back to how basically sorry a sappy was, all these issues were going on in his life.
It was all his fault. Yeah. And he was a loser.
And then he became a victim because his wife at the time was cheating on him, which was legitimately happening.
Yeah, that sucks.
And he found out while he was here. But he had known about this situation for like 2 years. And so I said, wait a minute, you've known about this situation for like 2 years? He goes, yeah. And I said, and you've stuck it out? And he said, yeah. And I said, how have you felt about that? He's like, terrible. It's crushing. And I said, wait, for 2 years, it's crushing, and you know about it, and you stay with her. And he goes, yeah. And I said, you do understand then you're indulging in this. This is something
that you see benefits in doing.
Yeah. You want to do this. And he goes, well, why would I want to do that? I said, I don't know. I don't know, but you had better figure that out because it's making you pretty miserable. But I think that the misery is what you like. I think you like being a victim. And that was really hard for him to hear. And he goes, and I said, so let's reframe this. What are the benefits of being a victim? with this
Yes.
situation.
And there are benefits.
And I said, so you're going to take 2 days and you're going to write all the benefits of your self-pity. You're indulging in self-pity, your indulgence in self-pity. And he came back. It changed his life. He goes, I have never understood why I've been such a miserable bastard for the last, like, literally 15 years. He goes, I indulge in depression and self-pity. And I said, all right, well, then you're going to need some courage to move past this. You're going to just say, I'm going to let go of these benefits because I'm not really getting out of this what I think I'm getting out of it. Wouldn't it be better to let go of the self-pity and find a new relationship based on the fact that you're a good guy?
Yeah.
He was blown away.
Look at, I the last person that would ever judge someone who indulges in self-pity, because I've done it. I understand it.
Me too.
Absolutely. I understand the benefits of it that I saw from it. You know, and it does when you're in that cycle. It's called clinical depression, right? When you're in that cycle of negative thinking and self-flogging and all of this you feeling like a victim, it feels like it's out of your control, just like addiction does, right? It feels like it's out of your control. It feels like nothing will ever be better. Nothing will ever be good in your life again. And it's a habit like anything else. It's a habit that feeds itself, because when you think negative things, your brain releases chemicals that make you feel the way you're thinking, right? So your thoughts come first. And so there was, people joke a lot about positive psychology because they're, you know, what is it, Stuart Smalley or something?
Yeah,
I'm good enough. I like, there's,
and people like me or whatever
people,
it was.
Gosh darn it, people like me. Like, there's all of this, but there's always some truth in jest, right? Like making fun of it. Like, positive thinking is just as much a habit as negative thinking.
Look at it. You are what you think.
Yeah.
Not figuratively. You literally are what you think.
Exactly. So, and we talk about that. I think it's chapter 14. We talk about you are what you think.
Yeah. In chapters 8 through 10.
Yep.
We go through that.
Yeah. So, you know, as you're trying to shed this addict self-image, it'd probably be a good idea to shed the self-image that you're a piece of shit.
Yeah. And that you need to indulge in self-pity and be depressed all the time, that you're a depressive.
Yeah.
You know, Bill Wilson in AA would always talk about, I'm a depressive.
Yeah.
I see things differently than other people. Well, you do, because you practice the art of being depressed.
Yep.
You know, I did too.
I did too.
I wasn't a very good problem solver initially in my life. And then one day I remember making the decision. I can tell you the moment it happened. It was in 1988. And I said, I'm going to change my life. And I started doing that. I started thinking differently. And I said, there's nothing on this earth that can beat me. Yeah. Only I can end up destroying my own life. It's time to have some courage, right? Because that's the theme here. It's the courage to move forward. The courage to move forward, even though you're scared, even though you may doubt yourself, even though your confidence may be shaken, even though you have a horrible habit of hanging on to self-pity and indulging in it, whatever it might be. You may want to muster up some courage and move forward. So again, courage is moving forward even when you're scared or uncertain. But it just means blindly moving forward and saying, I'm just going to do this. And then suddenly the universe will shift your whole way of thinking. It's called, you know, a psychic shift. You will have a psychic shift because you'll get good results. Suddenly the world will look a little different. You're like, oh my God, I didn't see that opportunity right there. I didn't see that because I was so sucked up within my own nonsense that I couldn't see what was sitting right in front of me. All the opportunities for life are there for anybody. It's just whether you're willing to pay the price to have some courage.
And look, at even when you figure it out and then life starts to go really well, you're going to get knocked down at some point. Of course. And you might have to be diligent again. So that's the other part of this is people start doing really well and they're happy. And then they get knocked down again. And then maybe they go out and they tie one on and all. You don't have to go back to that. Oh, see, I'm a piece of shit. I'm an alcoholic. I'm an addict.
See,
whatever.
Life just shits all over me.
Yeah. See? You don't have to go back to that. That's totally a choice. You can just be like, okay, well, that sucked. And now I've got to now I've got to move forward again. I've got to have some courage again. And I'm here to tell you, the older you get, for me, it's something I have to be diligent about, and not indulging in the negativity and the self-pity and, thinking, projecting out forward that things are going to be hard. Because if we project that things are going to be hard, guess what?
They are.
They are.
Yep. You create it.
You do, absolutely do.
Or life is hard already.
It sure is.
Here's the deal. So you have this certain measure of pain and suffering that we all endure.
Yeah.
The question is whether you accept that, embrace it, and say, okay, this is part of life. This is just part of life that I have to endure, but I'm going to overcome most of it.
Yes.
I'm going to do my best to overcome and to come up with solutions that make sense for me. And I'm not broken. I'm not destroyed. You may have a lack of confidence, but that's only because you haven't addressed these things and move forward, regardless of how you feel initially.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to tell you, life gets good.
It does.
If you do this and you're consistent and you have the courage to just move forward on blind faith sometimes in yourself, you have faith in yourself, when all indications are that you shouldn't, because you've fucked it all up for years and years and years. I did too. I've had a gun in my mouth. I know what it's like to be completely, totally despondent, but I'm not anymore. So it's important. It's important for you to move forward, even when it seems difficult to do that.
Or impossible.
Yeah.
It's never impossible.
That's right. Just do what's in your control. What can you control right now? What could you take on? You could definitely change your attitude.
Yep.
Because that's internal. There's nothing stopping you from saying, wait a minute, I'm going to stop saying, here's a classic line that people say. I'm so tired. I'm tired of doing this alone. I am so tired. You keep saying it, and I guarantee you'll feel like total shit.
Yeah.
Don't let yourself say it. Stop saying that and say, no, today I have energy. Today, even though I feel like shit, I'm going to move forward as if I have energy, and I'm just going to do that until I get good results. I'll just keep doing that. Yeah. And that's what happens. You'll get good results.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that's a good way to end.
Yeah.
I want to just give a shout out to Ryan Schwantes. Okay. He is he's our business partner. He does all the financial stuff for us. He did the skins for these podcasts. And when I first came in, it said on there that the wrong for for the Freedom Model International, it said it had the wrong web address. So I texted him right before. And while we were doing this podcast, it changed.
Oh, that's cool.
See, you didn't notice it.
I didn't.
I noticed it changed even without my glasses on. And so I want to just say Ryan is our producer. He does so much behind the scenes.
He's Oz behind the curtain.
He really, really is.
He is.
So thank you, Ryan. So Freedom Model International membership is the best value you can get. You basically get all of our resources.
You get an entire addiction solution in one place.
Freedom Model online program, the Freedom Model for the family.
Online
program. You get all of our books. You get the audio book.
Workbooks,
worksheets, extra lessons. I mean, it's all there.
A monthly newsletter.
And every single week, there is a brand new lesson, what we call What Have We Learned This Week lessons. And Mark's goes up this week. So, or actually last week, because this will be aired next week.
Right.
So it is online.thefreedommodel.org.
You can see it there in the corner, right?
Yep, it's in the bottom corner. He doesn't have his glasses on either. So it's in the bottom corner. However, it's the right-hand corner to us. I don't know how it shows up to everybody else.
Right.
But so online.thefreedommodel.org. It's $39.95 a month. You keep it as long as you want, and then you cancel it at any time when you feel like you're done and you're ready to move forward. And that's what we're talking about here.
Some people want to own the Freedom Model online program for life.
Yeah, you can do that too.
And there's a one-time cost of that. That's $450. So some people don't want to do a membership. They'd rather have
just buy it outright, not have monthly payments.
The only additional cost with owning it is if we add in content to that specific program, you may have to pay for those lessons. As
yeah, the new if we do big lessons, and usually those are 2 or 3 videos at a rip. Yeah. But it'd be a nominal cost for that. Yeah. So, and if you have a loved one who just wants the Freedom Model for the Family online program, that's available there as well. Just a one-time cost.
$200, I think.
Yep. So the other thing is we still have our Freedom Model private instruction. So if you have the program and you think you want to talk to an instructor one-on-one and go through the program with them, that's a really wonderful service. Mm-hmm. And we also have the retreat here,
St. Jude
retreat. Call 1-888-424-2626. It's in the top left corner. Our phone number, and you can talk with Danny, and he'll be happy to help you figure out which is the best solution for you.
Yeah, let's say that number again, because I think the live moniker there covers it.
Yeah, I don't know if that's still up there because it's
either.
A recording, but it would be 888-424-2626.
All right, everybody.
Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you next time.
See you next week.